Today we're going to take a quick look at the Centralia mine fire. I know a lot of other creators have covered this material already, so we're going to take a really quick look at the most important things about the Centralia mine fire and what it is. The Centralia mine fire is a type of coal seam fire, and coal seam fires are very unique because they burn underground. A coal seam fire doesn't necessarily need a lot of oxygen to continue burning, as it has an excessive amount of fuel. Coal, as you may know, is a fuel source for a lot of different things, and coal is very combustible, so when coal lights on fire, it can continue burning for years and years and years. You can see the diagram here, where the coal seam fire is burning underground, but it's not super visible on the top. Unfortunately, when it comes to abandoned mines, there are a lot of entryways that allow a pathway for air to be drawn into the mine and continue fueling the fire with the limited amount of oxygen required. Fire burns underneath the borough of Centralia, Pennsylvania, and was started in 1962. At its current rate, it can continue to burn for over 250 years. There were 1,500 residents in the town of Centralia before the coal seam fire took over their homes. The way the fire started was that there were 8 dumping grounds, and the Centralia Council wanted to figure out a way to remove all of this landfill. Because the town was so small, they didn't have adequate garbage resources. They decided to dump all of those 8 landfill dumping sites into the coal mine. And as you may know, dumping trash into a coal mine is a very temporary solution. And later the council met once again to determine how they were going to clean up the coal mine. The council meeting does not describe the proposed procedure, but a professor surmises that the process was setting it on fire and was not specified because state law prohibited dump fires. Nevertheless, Centralia Council set a date and hired 5 members of a firefighting team to clean up the landfill by setting it on fire. I don't know about you, but setting something full of coal on fire does not sound like the best idea. A fire was ignited to clean up the dump, and water was used to douse the visible flames. The dousing was not adequate, and the fire popped up once again 2 days later, and once again, water was used to douse the flames. The abandoned mine continued to function as a landfill for the residents of Centralia throughout this time, despite the fact that there was an active fire burning in the pit. Garbage concealed the hole that allowed the fire to continue to spread, and not even a month later, William Burke complained about foul odors coming from smoldering trash and coal reaching a church. The Centralia Council decided not to take the high road. Instead of taking responsibility for the coal fire, they sent a letter to the LVCC, a coal company that was responsible for the coal mine, telling them that a fire had started for unknown reason. Whoops, sorry. They decided to hide the true origin of the fire because it would serve them better than the truth, likely receiving no help if it was discovered that they started a fire in an abandoned coal mine. Within the first year of this fire starting, there were 3 remediation attempts made. The first remediation attempt made cost around $200,000 in today's currency. However, that proved to not be enough, as the project ran out of money before all of the fire could be excavated and doused. The second project did not learn their lesson, and once again, a similar amount of money, $240,000, was paid to the lowest bidder to douse the fire. And once again, the budget ran out of money before the fire was eliminated. The third project, costing almost $300,000, is not well documented, but clearly it did not fix the problem, as the coal seam fire continues to burn to this day. So why was this a problem? In 1980, severe adverse health effects were reported by several people living in the area as a byproduct of the fire. Carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide are not super healthy to breathe in and can poison the human lung. Low oxygen levels can also lead to brain damage. Statewide attention to the fire began to increase in 1981, so there was a period of 16 years where nobody even cared that there was a massive fire burning underneath an entire town. The only casualty resulting in this fire was from a sinkhole. Todd, a young boy, fell into the sinkhole when his cousin rescued him very quickly after he fell in. It was determined that the sinkhole contained lethal doses of carbon monoxide, and if Todd had stayed in there for any period of time, he would have certainly died. This incident gave Todd PTSD, and he died of an overdose on drugs in 2022. In 1984, 3 years after the fire started gaining national attention, Congress approved $42 million in governmental buyouts of residents' homes in the area. This allowed those families to move away from the coal seam fire without continuing to experience the deteriorating health effects of the fire. A few families opted to stay in spite of urging from Pennsylvania officials. Throughout the remaining years, the government tried to convince the remaining residents to leave. Unfortunately, they were very stubborn, and in 2010, 5 families still living in the area decided to file a lawsuit, calling the whole fire a massive fraud. They claimed that the fire was started by a coal company to get people to move out of the area, and the companies would have access to the highest quality anthracite coal. That's a pretty crazy reason, and a pretty crazy claim. And in 2012, of course, the lawsuit got thrown out. One last cool little fact about the Centralia mine fire is it created the only natural forming geyser in Pennsylvania, called the Big Mine Run Geyser, and it's a very popular tourist attraction for New England residents to go and visit. It's caused by the immense heat underneath the ground and the coal seam fire, and water's rushing after torrential rains, and it looks like this. Now I'll go ahead and put this disclaimer if you decide to go and visit. The government of Pennsylvania discourages you from entering the immediate area. Entering the area could result in serious injury or death. But if you'd like to take a look at the Big Mine Run Geyser, it is on private property, but I do believe it is open to the public for viewing. Thank you so much for watching Wiki Explorer, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.